Welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I'm going to be doing my review for the second race of the 2025 Jeddah ePrix. Of course, one big difference between today's race and yesterday's race was that this race had no pit stop. So it was a lot more of the same races we've seen last basically 2 years or so, where you just have attack mode but no pit stops. And I felt, definitely a Peloton style race, a lot of pack racing, cars very, very close together, drivers not necessarily wanting to be in the lead for certain parts of the race. So started with Taylor Barnard on pole, became the youngest ever pole sitter in Formula E history. So congratulations to him for that. And of course, he was gunning to be the youngest race winner in Formula E history today. So we had an aborted start. Actually, Maloney was out of position. Got himself kind of back in the right spot. Luckily, with no formation laps in Formula E, didn't take too long to sort out, and we eventually got going. It was a good start. Barnard, really good start from him. He maintained the lead. And Jake Hughes, really good start as well. He got up ahead of Roland into the first corner. And at this point, you basically had a British 1, 2, and 3. Further on, that same opening lap, there was a bit of drama later on as well at the first hairpin. Max Gunther, yesterday's race winner, kind of showing, as the broadcaster said, how easy it is to go from hero to zero in Formula E. Just kind of goes for a move on the inside of DaCosta that wasn't really there. You can see here he's basically already on the inside of the corner, basically, and basically there was going for a gap that just was not really there. The two make contact, and Gunther basically sends DaCosta into a spin. They both end up pitting on the end of that opening lap because of the damage to their car. So really important for both of them, and that definitely was a big hit to both of their championship hopes, in the sense that they basically went from being very, very close to the top of the standings to definitely not being at the top or near the top, just in terms of raw points totals by the end of today. So after that kind of chaotic opening lap, things definitely started to settle down a bit. Degrassi was the first driver to take attack mode. Obviously, the Lolo really, really struggling for outright pace this weekend, as they've done for pretty much all of this season. So again, trying to do something a little bit different with strategy in the hopes that perhaps you have a mid-race safety car or something, mid-race full course yellow that would hopefully spice things up. Now, let's see. After that, Vern overtakes Bird for P4 at turn 1, and then overtakes Roland as well for P3. So good pace there by Vern. Lap 5, Tinknam overtakes Bird as well. Bird really, really struggled this race. Started pretty high up, but unfortunately just fell back through the order as the race went along. At this point, it said race starting to turn into a Peloton race. A lot more energy saving, a lot of different changes for position, and definitely for the first, I would say 2/3 of the race, what position drivers were in was not really that relevant. So again, I wasn't really focusing too much on like trying to keep track of every single overtake for position. Lap 5, Degrassi was up to 5th with his attack mode, so again showing just how strong the attack mode was, even though despite the fact that that powertrain is almost certainly the slowest powertrain on the grid. Lap 7, Roland takes the lead into the bus stop, so good move there by him. Verline was up into 6th as well with attack mode. Really, really tough qualifying session all around for him and a lot of the championship leaders from last year. For example, all 4 of the Jaguar powered cars were starting in the bottom 10 positions, with Frines the highest, starting in 12th. Let's see, after that, where do we go? So then lap 10, Buemi pit, some kind of issue for him. So just like I said, Jaguar power cars really struggling, some kind of technical issue for Buemi. Verline again up to 4th with attack mode, showing that even if you had a bit of a weak qualifying, don't have the best setup for this weekend, the attack mode just makes your car so much quicker than your rivals, and just allows you to go up very, very easily. Cassie 6th as well after that first attack mode. Lap 11, that's where we got our first look at the energy readings, and Roland was best in that category, best with 71% of his energy at that point, a couple percent up on pretty much everyone else in the top 10. Lap 12, Frines takes lead in attack mode, a bit of a surprise to see him there. Really good start for the race for him, starting in 12th, got himself, I think, up to like 7th or 8th on that first lap, and then with the attack mode, got himself up into the lead. Bird given a 5-second penalty for not following the race director's instructions. We never really saw exactly what that was for. We just said not following race director's instructions. The announcers, their thought was that it was because he had some part of his bodywork hanging off the front wing. It wasn't a massive amount, but was like a little bit of his bodywork that was kind of dangling off. So I don't know if there was explicit instructions that if you had X amount of bodywork damage to your front wing that you had to pit. Regardless, he gets a 5-second penalty. Would have liked a bit more transparency there into exactly what was the issue and what went wrong, but nonetheless, we can't really change that. Lap 13, Evans gets up to third again with under attack mode, so a lot of the drivers starting at the back, kind of needing to try to do something a bit different on strategy, hoping that, just taking attack mode would get them further up the field. Lap 14, Rowland takes attack mode and comes out in third, so good move there. 17th, Barnard back in the lead, and most drivers have taken their first attack modes at this point. Degrassi still in 10th place after that early attack mode, showing that there was a little bit of benefit there. After basically everyone took attack modes, the fact that he still basically moved up a net 6 positions show that, from a strategic perspective, again, was a pretty decent idea. Then lap 19, Cassie uses his final attack mode, so starts that phase quite early, and he again moves up into third. Lap 20, they showed the energy readings again, and Jake Dennis had 3% more than the others at this point in the race. And again, more than basically everyone else in the top 10. And this is where Dennis used his first attack mode, I believe. So he basically went almost 2/3 of the race with no attack mode, saved a lot of energy, and then used it. And used that to full effect to get himself up into the top 10. So really, really different strategy from Dennis. Again, a lot of the title kind of cars that we would expect to be title contenders, they really had to basically try to do something completely different with strategy in the hopes that it would get them further up the field. So again, at this point, Rowland still in his first attack mode. He retakes the lead from Barnard at the bus stop chicane. So there you can see kind of on the entry into that chicane, Rowland takes the inside and pretty easy pass there for the Nissan driver. I was about to say British driver, but both of them are British, so it doesn't exactly work in this case. Lap 22, Barnard under pressure by Cassie, but doing a good job of holding him off. Rowland backs the pace off quite a bit as well. Right after he overtook Barnard for the lead, he was basically lapping in the 120s, but basically at some point he decided to back off shortly thereafter and basically went back into the 122s, which is what most drivers were doing for basically the middle third of the race or so. Lap 24, Dennis up to P2, so he started very, very close to the back, so really good job from him. And again, with that bit of a different strategy on the attack modes. Evans drops to the back. We saw some yellow flags as well, so it looked like some kind of issue. Don't know if he made contact. Don't know if it was car reliability failure. We never saw a replay, but he basically went back to the pits and retired. So really uneven start to the season for Evans, wins the first race from last on the grid, and then 3 consecutive non-point scores. So it's looking like for Jaguar, at least, their hopes of winning a driver's championship look very, very long. At this point, team's championship, I think, is still on simply because the team who has the driver who's leading the driver's championship, their teammate has no points still. So that's, obviously a bit of a tough one when you're basically one driver team. So I think for Jaguar, for team's championship, I think they do still have a chance, but for driver's championship, I think it's looking very, very tough at this point for both of their drivers. Let's see, where are we? So after Evans retires, so Dennis takes the lead as well in his final attack mode. So again, bit of a different strategy, but very, very bold, aggressive move there. Lap 25, Barnard takes attack mode, but despite that, because of the way that they split the attack modes up, they had the choice to either do 4-4, 2-6, or 6-2. And I guess for Barnard, he decided to do 6-2, so his final attack mode, he only had the 2 minutes. So despite the fact that he took attack mode after Rowland, his final attack mode after Rowland, he was still going to run out before Rowland did. So that was, again, one of the unique strategy elements that was kind of taking place with the attack modes. So shortly thereafter, Rowland, lap 26, overtakes Dennis for the lead for P1. At this point, Dennis basically out of attack mode, and he's basically just trying to hold on for dear life and pick up as many points as he can, because many of the drivers still behind him are still in attack mode, so definitely quite vulnerable there. Lap 27, we get a really, really good three-way battle between Barnard, Vern, and Dennis. So at the final hairpin, basically, Vern basically tries to make a half move on Dennis to get, I believe, P2 at this point. Goes to the outside, doesn't quite make the move stick, but because of that, he basically leaves space down the inside of that corner. Barnard takes the opportunity and basically allows him to get a really, really good exit out of that corner. Basically allows him to overtake Vern basically at the hairpin, and then he gets a really good run into the first of the final two chicanes. So you can see here going down the inside of Dennis into that penultimate chicane, and then really, really easy pass down the inside, and you can see goes past both of them in basically the span of two corners. And Vern also got past Dennis, who, like I said, was basically just holding on for dear life and trying not to get overtaken by the cars around him. So yeah, really good move there. Three-way battle between Barnard, Jev, and Dennis. Lap 29, Hughes overtakes Vern as well for P3 at the hairpin. So I think at this point, Hughes, you can see in the background of the shot there. So I guess Dennis must have gone past him. Dennis was, Dennis had been overtaken by Hughes, and then got overtaken, and then Hughes overtook Vern from there. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Let's see. So lap 30, great battle between Hughes and Barnard for P2. Really, really tough battle going into turn 1. Barnard really put the squeeze on him and left pretty much no space on the apex of turn 2s, and that forced Hughes to go into the runoff area. But for Barnard, I thought it was pretty solid racing, hard fair racing between the two of them. And at this point, basically, you have this really intense fight between Barnard and Hughes for P2, and that has basically just left Roland to kind of do whatever he wants, and he basically built up like a 4 to 5 second lead over that final lap. Dennis makes a move up to P4 as well at the final hairpin on that final lap, but it would be Roland taking the checkered flag, and as you can see behind him, basically no cars in sight. It was basically a dominant victory, led the most laps, had the most energy for most of the race, and just did an excellent job of controlling the pace and just pushing when he had to, conserving when he had to, and just at the end when it mattered most, took that massive lead out. And won the second race of the ePrix. So now he's won 2 of the first 4 races, has 3 podiums out of 4. Could have easily have been 4 podiums out of 4, and he looks basically like the man to be in the Formula E Championship this year. Barnard finished P2, Hughes P3, and it was Dennis P4, so you basically had an all British top 4, British domination, I guess you could say, in the race today. Good result for Cassie. He finishes 5th, 6th Van Dorn, 7th Vern, lost a couple places on that final lap, must have been struggling quite a bit with energy. 8th was Vern, 9th Tictum, good to see him pick up a couple points in the Curo. 10th Mortara, 11th Muller, 12th Bird, De Vries 13th, 14th Fines, 15th Nato, 16th Degrassi, 17th Beckman, 18th Maloney, 19th Buemi, and your 3 retirements are Evans, DaCosta, and Gunther. So finishing up, taking a look at your Drivers' Championship standings, Roland now has a pretty commanding lead, 68 points at the top, 17 clear of Barnard, who now moves up into P2. So you have 2 Nissan powered cars in the top 2. They look very, very strong in the Manufacturers' Championship. Like I said before, like I alluded to, Roland basically leads with 68, but his teammate Nato hasn't scored a point yet this year. So that still is going to leave them a bit vulnerable in the team's championship if some team is able to kind of get both drivers up consistently getting points every race. 3rd, DaCosta 39, no points today. 4th, Gunther with 37. 5th, Hughes with 27. 6th, Vern with 26. And then Evans, Verline, and Dennis all on 25 points. 10th, De Vries on 24. 11th, Mortara on 17. 12th, Bird on 16. 13th, Van Dorn on 16 as well. 14th, Cassie on 10 points. Finally get some points on the board. Still, like I said, 58 points behind the championship leader. That's going to be very, very hard to do with basically only 75% of the season to go. Let's see, 15th Buemi, 6 points, tied with Tictum, and then 17th Muller with only 2 points so far. Again, 23 points off his teammate. Definitely been a pretty disappointing start to Muller's first season at Andretti. Let's see where we go. 18th Fines, 19th Maloney, 20th Nato, 21st Beckman, and 22nd is Degrassi, all on 0 points. So there you go. There's your review of the race 2 of the 2025 Jeddah ePrix. Thought both races were pretty decent. I think the track layout's okay. Again, it's not the I would say it's not the best track layout in terms of like being interesting, having a bumpy surface, not like a typical Formula E circuit, but I think the racing was pretty good, and I think this is definitely a circuit that even if they don't change the layout, I think it's a track that they can really grow into, especially when they transition to Gen 4, which should hopefully provide much faster cars, better battery life as well in a couple of years' time. So I think, the move to Jeddah, I think obviously, Delia was a kind of a fan favorite track, but I think this is a pretty good track as well. And I think with a look to the future, I think it's, a pretty sensible choice to make. So there you go. There's your review of the 2025 Jeddah ePrix. We now have a 2-month break until Miami, so I'm pretty unfortunate in that case. I know they're doing their Celebrity Miami event in March. Probably not going to do any coverage for that. Just not really that interesting, I think. But yeah, so it'll be 2 months break, I guess, until the next Formula E coverage, which will be in Miami. So thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.